it's Alisha here, and today I wanted to talk about the heart and why listening to your heart rather than your brain actually creates way more for you than if you were to just listen to your brain or operate in the mind. And what I mean by coming into your heart really is to come into a state of heart-brain coherence, which is measurable through heart rate variability, through digital biofeedback like a Muse headband device, for example. It measures your heart rate variability, EEG, body movement, breath, and all these kind of things. The state of coherence has an actual frequency of 0.1 hertz, which, by the way, is the same as the Earth's primary frequency. The Schumann frequency, the frequency of the Earth, actually overlaps with our brainwaves, which is really cool. But the reason why our listening to our hearts rather than our brains or coming into a state of heart-brain coherence is so powerful is because our heart actually is, I think it's like 100 times more powerful in terms of electromagnetics than any other part of your body and your brain. And it's because of the sensory neurites around your heart. You have about 40,000 neurites around your heart that are very similar to brain cells. The difference between your brain cells and your sensory neurites is that your brain cells are what you've been taught, what you've seen, what you've learned. So they're everything that you know and everything that you know that you don't know. So something that you know that exists, but you maybe have never seen it. You don't really know much about it, but you know it exists. That is what your brain cells carry, the information that your brain cells carry, which is actually limited than what your heart carries. The sensory neurites carry higher perception information. They know what you don't even know exists. Like, for example, simple example, there could be some singer that I've never heard of, but just because I've never heard of them and my brain cells don't know that exist doesn't mean they don't exist. And that's something that my sensory neurites would know exist, just for a simple example. A better example would be like a job. So your brain might think, you know what, I want this kind of job. I think this is what I want to do for a living. And it's based on the jobs that you know that exist. Based on what you know that exists, you're like, okay, maybe this job is aligned with me. But that information is actually limited. There could be something that you don't even know exists, especially if it hasn't even been created yet. Maybe it's something that you're going to create. Like, if you think about it, Instagram didn't exist how many years ago, and how many people are Instagram influencers for a living? You could have never dreamt that as a child. You could have never known that that's what you were going to do. Your brain cells didn't know, but your sensory neurites did. So if you would actually come into a state of heart-brain coherence and tuned into your heart more, then you would have been able to receive that idea. So that's just an example of how our mind is actually very limited in the information that it has compared to the heart. So actually, I hear people say this all the time where they're like, I want my children, for example, to do a bunch of research and figure out what they want to do for a living before they go to university and pick their degree, and I spend money on their education. I'm not willing to do that unless they have put thought and effort into and research, job shadowing, things like that. But that really is limited. What our brain cells know is not all that exists. And if you only listen to your mind or your brain, it's not going to create the most for you, as much as what could be created if you were living in your heart and tuning into your sensory neurites. Your heart actually sends more information to your brain than your brain sends to your heart. So you might actually be listening to your heart and not even realize it because you think it's just coming from your brain. But yeah, super, super powerful to come into your heart, into a state of heart-brain coherence. And it's actually proven that if you are in a state of heart-brain coherence, that you can reverse aging by an average of 12 years. You can decrease your chances of getting heart disease, cancer, any sort of illness, or Alzheimer's or dementia. That's how powerful it is to come into a state of heart-brain coherence. So how you do this, and if you go to the Heart Math Institute website, they have actually a bunch of different videos on this, but the fastest one is what they call the quick coherence technique. And that is just where you bring your attention to your heart. Imagine you're breathing into your heart, feel your heartbeat, just bring your awareness to your heart, take a few deep breaths that way, and then feel into an elevated emotion. They say to feel into joy, appreciation, love. Think about someone you love, like a family member, a pet, something like that. That could actually be hard for some people. I remember for me it was really hard to feel any sort of elevated emotion. So I would just feel into serenity or peace, any sort of elevated emotion from where you're currently operating. So pretty much those are the 2 steps in the quick coherence technique. Bring awareness to your heart and then feel into an elevated emotion. And now you're in a state of heart-brain coherence. If you did that like every day, first thing in the morning, first thing before bed, again, you're reversing aging and decreasing the chance of major illnesses. And you're connecting with the wisdom of your heart, which is way more powerful and not limited as the information from your brain. So I hope that was helpful and you start doing this quick coherence technique every single day and you won't regret it. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and hit the bell button if you want to be notified the next time I upload a video. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.